David wanted to be here real early, and on the way, someone called the house and said, "Tell Mom, we just saw the president and the first lady at the airport." And he said, "But my parents went to have dinner with the president." It's my son, David. He now has more gray hair than I do. And we get here, and there were already lots of people. And David said, "You can get on stage with and other people." And I said, no, I want to be in front because I want to look at them. I don't want to be back there looking at their backs. And it was super, super exciting. It was, people were not sitting. They were all standing. They were standing against the walls. Some of the plaques had been taken out of the ceiling, and there was service people up there. And it was just magical.
What was it about him and Jackie that made it magical?
Well, first of all, I felt that she was a beautiful lady, and he being the first president to ever show up to the Mexican-American affair, it was just wonderful.
Incredibly charismatic, both of them.
Very, very, absolutely.
All right, Mike Herrera. What were you thinking that night?
I was standing behind the stage and just happy for everybody. I had worked in Washington, D.C. for Lyndon Johnson, who was vice president, as a United States Capitol Policeman. And I saw the vice president practically every day. And the president frequently, and it's not that I'm blasé about this, but I was happy for the people that were gathered there, or gathered here in this ballroom. There had been no promise that he would definitely appear.
Oh, you really didn't know, for sure.
Well, we called everybody and told them that we couldn't guarantee his presence, but it would be a good idea if they were here. We just couldn't guarantee. Now I want to say this, that it was because of my dad, John JFK, that this whole thing came about. His letter that was typed, incidentally, by Tina Adami, and David, her husband David, was there inviting the president to come to visit with a LULAC affair, which really hadn't been put together yet. But, and when the president responded, well, we scrambled to get everything together. Now, the event was called off 3 different times. Dad would get on the phone and call Ken O'Donnell, the chief of staff to President Kennedy, and get it called back on. Now, this happened 3 different times. The 3rd time that he called, that it was called off, and Dad called and again talked to Ken O'Donnell. He said, "Look, Mr. O'Donnell, we've got people coming here from 800 miles away. And, you know, and without a guarantee that the president's going to be here. 800 miles, Mr. Herrera." And, well, that's the way Massachusetts boys spoke, you know. And now 800 miles in the Northeast covers like about 10 states. And that's the difference from El Paso to Houston here. Needless to say, the event was called back on, and I told Dad later, I think that was a selling point for the president showing up.
That people had come from so far away.
I beg your pardon?
That people had come from so far away.
Oh, yes, people came from all over the state. It just, we couldn't say that he was definitely going to be there. And they came on faith. Now, I do want to say this. The day of the event, I was in Dad's office, and I got a call from a reporter. Well, the phone was handed to me. And it was a reporter from either the Chronicle or the Houston Post, I forget which one. And he said, well, we hear that the president is going to appear there at this LULAC function that you have. I said, well, I hadn't heard that. My heart went up to my throat. And I hadn't heard that, and well, of course we'd be pleased, but I can't verify that at all. And left it at that. Dad comes back in, and I told Dad what happened, and we waited for the afternoon papers to come out, just hoping that it hadn't leaked out. The afternoon papers came out, there was no mention of it, and we breathed a sigh of relief.
Your reaction the next day when you heard the news?
I was in Dad's office, getting ready to board a bus to head to Austin for another event there. And Dad was winding up some affairs there with some clients. When a friend of my brother's, gone to school with my brother, this young man was an Irish immigrant, and we called him Irish. Hey, Irish. He was married to the secretary of the young lady in the office next door. He comes in and he says, Mike, turn on the radio, turn on the radio. And I look, turn on the radio. I go back into my dad's office, and he had the credenza in back of his desk. And he was talking to some clients, and he looks up at me, and I just went back and I turned on the radio. News came on. Sadness. There have been all sorts of programs on TV about the president and Mrs. Kennedy this week, and there's going to be some more on tomorrow. I haven't watched any of them. I don't need to. One thing that I want to say about that evening was that President Kennedy spoke just a few minutes to us and about the Alliance for Progress, and which was fine and dandy, but then he introduced his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy. Mrs. Kennedy spoke to us in Spanish, and like Benny just said, there was a hush of silence. Everybody just kind of kept quiet. And after she finished, the crowd just erupted in applause, and there were some tears because, once again, the Latinos, Mexican Americans here in Texas, we were being recognized. That's the way I saw it. We were being recognized.
Finally.
Not as second-class citizens, but as Americans. It hadn't been too many years since we had the Supreme Court decision, Peter Hernandez case about Mexican Americans serving on juries, or the Minerva Delgado case of Mexican schools down in Bastrop. And this was fresh on the mind of many, many of the Latinos all over the state of Texas, well, all over the nation for that matter. And to have this kind of recognition for a president of the United States to show up at an event of Latin Americans, LULAC, was, well, to me, my heart swelled with pride. And I was proud of just everybody there. Jim Montero, we went to high school together. A bunch of the other folks that were there went to high school together. Viva Junior LULAC, a bunch of junior LULACers too, there. And it was just a magical evening. I'm glad that, and I'm happy and I'm honored that I was able to play a small part in this. And one other thing, Mr. So I want to, on behalf of my sister's daughter, my grandson, my son, I want to thank LULAC for putting this on. Mom and Dad have been gone now for 28 years, and all during that time, we were aware of a lot of the things that Dad did. And we have never sought any kind of recognition for the work that he did. Because there are people here who work on these matters just as hard. They may not have gotten the glory, names in the paper, on the radio, anything like that. But they work very hard. And I'm not going to mention any names because I would leave out. Although I will say this, Mr. Ernest Yale was one of them.
Let's hear from him. Let's give him the microphone.
And wait a minute, and Tina Adame, David Adame was one of them.
All right, Mr. Guia.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what you remember from that night.
What I like to remember that if it weren't for great leaders of LULAC, this would not have happened. But in particular, John Herrera. If it had not been for him 63 years ago, it wouldn't have happened then, and this tonight wouldn't have happened tonight. I remember Tina just about a week ago told me to my face, "You are the last man standing." I am. I'm the last one standing, but I'm standing on the shoulders of maybe 250 to 300 World War II veterans.
Thank you for that.
You see, when we returned to Houston in 1945, the World War II veterans came to Houston to find that we were still third-grade citizens. They are the ones that changed the face of Houston, because back then, I don't know if any of you remember, because everyone here is younger than I am. And we did not have a single police officer or fireman or anybody working in City Hall that was Hispanic. And it was those veterans from LULAC Council 60 that made it possible to change that here in Houston. I am proud. I am proud to have been one of those 300 guys. But let me tell you that the evening of November the 21st, 1963, I was standing on the left-hand side of the door, Gilbert Gomez on the right-hand side. The president came in, and I could not reach him, but I saw him about 3 feet away. And they came in like, I guess, all crowds do it all at once. The crowd here, there must have been about 300 people, maybe more. You couldn't put a toothpick between them. There were so many. But there was nobody here that did not have a smile on their face. They were here to listen to a man that was charismatic, that was popular, intelligent, and everybody loved him. Everybody loved his wife. When they passed through the door there, I saw this guy come through that I hadn't seen since 1935. He was the Vice President of the United States, Lyndon Johnson. He was a teacher at Sam Houston High School when I was a student there. I was not in his classes, but I saw him many times. But I'm proud to say that those people that came in, President Johnson and Lyndon Johnson, they changed the world for us. And when I say us, I mean everybody, not just Hispanics, for everybody. Those people were real leaders. Lastly, I want to say that I am proud to be a LULAC member, particularly of Council 60. I have been a member 66 years. And I don't believe there has been a council in all of LULAC that has had better leaders than Council 60. We have had 3 national presidents.